Welcome, everyone. This is Pilot Niels, and you're listening to LOTRO Players News, where we take a look at latest with LOTRO and hear LOTRO players. And this week, I am joined by Krister.
Hello.
Hello there, Krister. Are you ready to hear some release notes?
I wasn't aware that release notes were going to be read again.
These
No,
are new release notes.
yes, I am ready.
Okay,
I'm
okay, okay.
ready.
Just make sure, because this was a release of update 43.1. And this is patch number 1 to the Secrets of Utug Bur. Then they were released on Thursday, March 13th, 2025. And we have reinstated the original deed log while we work on correcting the crashing issue. So Shift plus L will again access the classic deed log, while Control L will open up the new deed log. However, this is for display only and serves no function. So therefore, you'd want to use whatever the old classic way of opening up your deed log is, so that you'll be able to look at your deeds. And I think a lot of people like the way the old one looks, so aren't going to be complaining about this particular item. But I think they do expect the new deed log to be back once they figure out why is it crashing.
That's a good reason to figure out, I think,
Yeah. They need to do a nice root cause analysis on the whole thing.
Yeah.
Yes. Also, doors in Thorns Hall that were previously inaccessible now function again. I am not too sure which ones are, because I haven't been to Thorns Hall that much lately. Several key particle effects, including overhead eyes and line warnings, will now render even if your dynamic particle rendering setting is set to none. I will presume this has something to do with raids, Krister?
I'm trying to understand that as well. Yeah. So,
Yeah,
is it,
because like overhead eyes, I think are things like the right when you're in a that's when you get eyes put over you because you are being targeted, or you're about to have something blow up or something like that, all those weird things. So I presume that's what they mean by overhead eyes then.
maybe they
And
meant overhead ice, which could be like snow. No, never mind. I'm sorry.
uh, I did not
I'll
consider
I'll
that
back off the
possibility.
caffeine.
Yeah, okay. So, also fixed animation issues for elf female lore master sheathing. Reduced the stiffness for elf and high elf male run animations. Fixed issues affecting female elf, high elf, and race of man instrument animations. And some of the decoration in the Temple of Utukbur raid has been adjusted to reduce visual artifacts and other unintended issues. As for items, the wheel breaker was incorrectly set to legendary quality and has been updated to incomparable quality. Removed a DNT from Utukbur Moonstone Jewelry to set bonus tooltip. Corrected some minor issues with Utukbur chest soft locks. Soft locks now have a chance to drop signets from the first boss of each wing. And Temple Hero Spoils Rewards is now correctly bound to account rather than unbound. Now, have you had a chance to do the raid yet?
I've been able to sit in on and listen to the raid being done, but not yet. No.
Okay. Oh, not quite there. Oh well. Most default frontal attacks made by monsters now have a 120-degree arc rather than a 180-degree arc. So that means only if you're obviously in their front arc is it going to do it, rather than, look, I didn't think I was on the side. Okay. Classes. Champion, Fury of Blaze, dual wield, second hit damage was erroneously reduced by 5% in a recent patch. And this fix corrects the error and the intended plus 5% change is now added to the pre-patch value. All right. Lore Master, the new skill to summon a Savannah Pride Keeper should now work properly. Now, I must admit that I didn't think that there was going to be anything in the raid loot or anything like that was going to say, well, I really want to get this. But then, wait. Lore Masters can now get a lion as a, as a raid drop?
That could be
Ooh.
kind of cool.
Ooh. I mean, so the
You
question
do.
is,
Who
do I
doesn't
do?
want to own a lion?
Hmm?
Who doesn't want to own a lion? Well, maybe a Hana
Right.
does, but
Yeah. So therefore, yeah, I was thinking yeah, a lion would be a nice thing to have around. And now the question is whether or not that will ever come the into the figment. Yeah, I don't know. Do I think Lore Master pet variants so only are either store bought or from special quests. I don't I'm trying to think is if they ever could be purchased for figments or anything like that, or if it's or I suspect that maybe after a while, maybe a year or two, probably they might make it available through mental coins or guess. But right now, if I do the raid, it'll probably be with my lore master because I think I might like a lion. Now for the mariner. The skill repulse, step back, feint, and dodge now generate more afterward pips. For the minstrel, Legend of the Hammerhand bubbles once again heal allies correctly upon expiration. This is no longer a percent based heal. As for high elf females, lower the hairline on hairstyles 2, 3, 4, and 7. In the Well of Forgetting, Ordekai sorcerers in the Well of Forgetting no longer attempt to use shadow skills when they do not have appropriate animations. Oh, for which they do not have appropriate. Okay. For the Temple of Utug Bur, the Temple of Utug Bur Tier 2 will now open on noon Eastern on March 20th. So that will be next Thursday, if I calculate that properly. And Tier 3 will open on noon Eastern on March 27th, which would be the week after that. The Leading the Charge deed for Temple of Utug Bur is available to earn until 3 a.m. on May 21st, 2025. For Thorgruth, the Kulkorth will now use his key abilities more reliably, and they reworked the reset during Malkun encounter to make sure that it cleans up properly if the group wipes during the Breaking Bonds channel. It's nice for a raid boss to clean up after itself, right?
maybe that's part of the reason why they continue their speeches after they die. It's kind of there. Well, to really tidy up everything, it's going to be really confusing if I die before I say this because then you guys will have no context for the entire reason you're here. So let me continue, and then I'll clean up afterward. That's be very convenient with some of the raids too, if you think about it. The boss cleaned up afterwards.
Yep.
Maybe that's part of their punishment, because they don't really die, right? I mean, they just lose all hope. So
They lose all hope and clean up the place, yes. For Thurnheen, fix an issue preventing full reset of a raid wipe between Kultbag being defeated and the wounded Legolas climbing it onto the altar. Fixed an issue preventing Utugi from entering the battle in the Kormulter fight after a reset. And Rumok, the Blood Spiller, will now heal to full when respawning. As for the Inner Sanctum, Azagat's Poison Spike skill no longer incorrectly applies to the person who is the source of its spread. Added visual effects to the festering poison effect to better explain that poison swelling within you is about to explode outward to allies. That sounds like a sick
Ah,
effect.
yeah, not excited about that.
Yes, consume to emptiness should now more efficiently and correctly consume blisters in all tiers. There was a rare chance for Azagoth to become stuck in drama in the first stage of his fight. This has been addressed. There was an odd chance where the reset for the final boss was breaking in an unexpected way. While this did not block the wing from being completed, it did make things awkward. The reset now correctly sets the fight to the correct status post the defeat of Aladi Sugush and Thashar. There was an issue where the display for summon aspects was not appearing correctly on Azagoth in the first stage of his fight. This has been addressed. Legolas, despite being an amazing and masterful archer, cannot wield two bows.
Oh, that would have been
Oh,
something to see, though, wouldn't it?
that would have been something to see, right? Yes. Updated tooltips for Ozagod's Shades effects, which unlock bonus skill attacks from Ozagod's Sea Shadow. Updated the tooltip on the final tier of Shred Hope effect to call out the movement is disabled. Fixed a typo in a skill used by Alad Thashar. The skill effect bound by shadow from the Alad Sagush now correctly applies up to a 10% chance for your skills to consume morale on use. The effect Shred Hope from Garash the Emptiness now correctly applies to a 100% chance for your skills to consume morale on use. And also in French, the translation for Chest of the Tharosh Lord has been updated. And they also updated the translation for all of the abandoned button in the common housing to Verlassen instead of Abrichen. And that's it for the release notes.
Whoa, I wasn't prepared for them to end so soon.
What?
I don't know what to do now.
Oh, well. All right. Well, then, I guess that means it is time for us to head into the next section, unless you have something you want to say about the release notes before we continue.
Oh, I've said my fill.
You said your fill. All right, then. Then it is time to celebrate spring. And believe me, after the winter we've had, I am happy about that. Yes,
Hooray.
you can celebrate spring in the Lord of the Rings Online. The Spring Festival ushers in warmer days and the start of planting season, and the players throughout Middle Earth can celebrate with rewards, quests, and more. The guide will get you started earning festivity tokens, spring leaves, and other rewards. And and if you live in Australia, well, I'm sorry, we're getting all the seasons backwards.
Uh-huh.
Yes. So yes, we have the usual festivities within the Spring Festival. So therefore, you go to the Breland Festival grounds to Dwayland in Eredluine, Thorns Hall in the northwestern section of Eredluine, and to Brocking Borings in the Shire. Because I think in Brocking Borings you can run over, run along a fence or something silly like that. And they talk about all the things you could do all over the place. We do have a link in the show notes so that you could read all about this. And they also show you the various things that are now available in the store. So they have a look at the dress that you can get at the goat at the new goat at the new spring goat. It's a white goat, and you could get a hedgehog pulling a cart, and the cart has a hare as a passenger.
Whoa!
Yeah.
I just had an army of those.
Oh boy, when you ask the army to form a hedgehog, you're going to mean it more literally, right? And and they also show a back shot of the player showing the newest cloak in there. So these are some of the cosmetics that are going to be available at this year's Spring Festival. And the 2025 rewards that they list are the cloak of the budding spring, the hooded cloak of the budding spring, the sleeveless dress of budding spring, uh, the dress of the budding spring, the long sleeve dress of the budding spring. I think it's the long sleeve dress of the budding spring, which is the one that is shown in the screenshot here. The r- long sleeve dress, the tunic and leggings of budding spring, the garments of budding spring, which is a gift wrapped selection box that you could send to somebody else, a lily pond and fountain of the budding spring, and lily pond. And unfortunately, I don't see the lily pond in any of the images here. I think Cordovan showed it during his show from last week. He was showing all the various things in there, and he did show the lily pond and fountain in there where he put that into his yard on Landreval. And he was on Landreval because he decided he'll let the players do their transfers first before he's going to go around transferring his character over. And besides, it's hard to demonstrate housing stuff when the houses aren't open yet over on Peregrine.
True.
Yes. And also a purple flowering hedge, a red flowering hedge, a yellow flowering hedge, a forest hedge, Tome of the Hedgehog and Hare Parade. That's that hedgehog pulling a hare. And the Goat of Budding Spring and the Tome. Oh, okay, and that's just repeated the previous one. So that's all that we have available for this year's Spring Festival. Plus, of course, a number of things from last year I'm sure are going to be making returns in addition to that. And that is it for the Spring Festival. And the Spring Festival is going to be open until April 1st. So that would be 2 weeks, a little bit more than 2 weeks from now. Also, we have a link to the latest episode of We Have a Cave Troll. And that is where we have Orion and we have Scenario. They're working together and talking about the game development and things in history and all this. Now this time they're talking about some things that are upcoming. For example, they're updating Lalia's Market. And one of the things they're doing is they are making it larger. They're not giving it a second story, but it looks like it is going to include making it higher because they started preparing for the upgrade that they're doing by lowering the location of Lalia's Market. And so they lowered it down, and this created some funny results because anyone who was in Lalia's Market when the update was made logged in inside the rafters because they had lowered Lalia's Market. Uh,
Oh, that's awesome. Were they stuck there forever?
no, most of them did something like either milestoned out or used a slash stuck command or something of that sort. And if they were in a situation where they couldn't get out, then there was always the option of calling customer service and they could get them out after that.
I feel like there's almost a story there where a great evil person was trapped in the rafters for years, and now that they've readjusted the market, they're free.
All right.
Sauron's younger brother Billy.
Okay. The second thing that they announced is that they have plans for introducing a new housing currency because currently we have this thing called housing writs. Well, the trouble that they have with housing writs is that it's a they're finding it's not a very, very fine level of detail. That one housing, they wish that there were situations where they wish they were able to give a half or third housing rent for certain types of housing decorations. Because right now, if you wanted to be able to sell housing items for rents, they have no choice but to make it an even number of housing rents, and that would make most housing items too expensive if they did it that way. So therefore, they are thinking of going to a new currency on that. That is discussed and described in the Cave Troll episode. What exactly they're really going to do, I guess we have to find out when it gets actually implemented, or at least shown on Bull Roarer, and then we can decide whether do we like it or are we going to be screaming bloody murder.
Yeah, they could just have the writs subdivide into a new currency called writ bits. So you have one writ and 10 writ bits, or one writ and 3 writ bits. It's writ bits. See, it's pretty catchy, isn't it? Writ bits. Say it over and over again, but kind of loses all meaning. Writ bits, writ bits, writ bits. Yeah, I can't. What am I saying? What are we talking about again?
Okay. Well, the next item that we have in here is that they said that they are planning in the summer update to have some more changes in birding. I will presume then that means getting maybe the Gondor perhaps for some birding, or maybe to Eastern Ravanian. Maybe they're planning getting to one of those places or something. Or have they done Eastern Ravanian? I guess we have to check on that at some point. But at the very least, probably adding something to Gondor, my guess would be the updates that they're planning for there. And one of the nice things about adding birds to Gondor is that when you add them to Gondor, that means that that should also add them to King's Gondor, because King's Gondor and traditional Gondor should have the same birds there. I mean, unless you had certain birds that were only there because of the war or something like that. So we have to see on that. But it looks like they are and they also said that they're actually adding some things to fishing also this summer. You're not excited about that?
Well, I'm going to try to figure out maybe it's adding birds. Maybe the birds start fishing.
Oh, you mean you try to fish and a kingfisher comes and grabs your
Oh, that would be awesome.
and grabs your catch before you can get it? Or maybe they could have some better percentages of being able to catch cookable fish in places like Umbar. Oh, okay. Since when it was complaining about ribbit. Okay, yeah. Yes, so it looks like since Linda has joined us in the chat, so this time we have both Sam and Sans. So we're not saying Sam.
You just said Sam.
Yeah. It's Now let's have a look at what's going on with transfers. And first off, it looks like that the transfer time, in other words, the time between when a transfer was submitted and when it's getting resolved, it looks like it is finally decreasing. It reached its peak at about 100 hours between them, so a little bit more than 4 days. And that but finally it is starting to diminish and gradually decrease, which is fortunate in there. They've processed something like a million, actually it might even be 1.5 or to 2 million right now. Requests have already gone through and been processed. So it's characters, or I should actually not requests, actually it's a number of characters that have been carried over. So we have like McDonald's that says, 1 billion characters served, 2 billion characters served, 3 million characters served. I don't know how many listeners remember the days when McDonald's actually posted the number of billions of customers that they
I
had
remember
served.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, you remember that?
I think that means we're old, mainly.
Yeah, yeah. That was basically back before they just decided, okay, just say billions and billions and be done with it. All right. So the latest times are that I've seen are just under 4 days. So just about the 4 day mark is it. So they've decreased a little bit, but it'll take a little time in order for that to get down. So it looks like that maybe by this time next week we could be down to where things are taking less than a day, we hope. And I've had submitted 5 different requests over this time period, and all 5 of them, the last one came through just before the show began, and so now they're doing things from Tuesday night or something like this. So right, progressing at a decent pace, I guess well, not a decent pace, actually an extremely slow glacial pace, I guess is probably more truthful on that matter. But it's hopefully going to get better. That's all I got to say on that one time. But anyway, I had submitted 5 requests overall. I've decided I'm not going to send any more requests until after things calm down. And I suspect there'll be at least a couple weeks before that. Speaking of things that aren't going through until things calm down, is I suspect that until it's less than a day for queue times, I suspect that they're not going to open up the housing neighborhoods because right now the housing neighborhoods are still closed and not open for business, at least the ones on the new 64-bit servers. But I'm thinking that about when it gets down to below a day that they're going to start considering actually turning them on and letting us in and start buying the houses and see how fast the houses disappear on the new servers when they do that.
It's going to be insane. I figure that's going to be an insane.
Yeah, it is going to be. If you think that there was a massive name rush, you see the land rush that's going to happen when they open up the housing neighborhoods. All right. Now, that is it for the news this week. So let's see what's on sale. Krister, what's on sale this week?
Well, you can unleash your potential and
Ooh.
get 15% off Deep Boosts, Universal Solvents, and Universal Morale and Power Potions. And that's through March 20th. And the weekly coupon is for the free dye of purple. And it is the coupon code is Regal Dye, all one word, REGALDYE. And that's through March 20th as well.
All right, thank you on that. And I suspect that we could use that morale and power potion in order to get our morale up after spending 5 days waiting. Okay, 4 days waiting for a character to get ready. So I think you waited a couple extra days because you were scared to log in because you didn't get any letters.
I was, yeah, I think I missed maybe you saying that too about that word, which was that I don't think you've received any emails. I never received any
Yeah,
emails on the completion, but I know other people have reported it. So I'm not sure of the rhyme or reason
yeah,
behind receiving emails or not, but
yeah,
maybe they went to trash or something like that too. So
yeah. I don't know what is blocking the emails in certain areas and like because I did check my spam filters. I don't see them coming up into my spam filters, but then it could be that my spam filter on one of my email systems is, well, hidden from my eyes. They really don't want me to see anything that they think is spam. I'm sorry, we don't like this at all. Actually, no, I think it just marks it as spam. I don't think it actually even gets rid of it. But anyway, I have not seen any emails of that type come through. And that has been the case for me for years. I think it's been years since whenever I do copies over to Bullroarer. I think in the early days, I used to get emails whenever I did that copy, but it has been years since I've seen a copy message on. So that's why I was not in any way surprised when I didn't get any emails from any of the transfer requests I have made.
okay, yeah. So yeah, and so my experience was after talking to you, normal, I think, which was I put the request in last Saturday. The request executed probably on Wednesday. But I of course, talking to one of my guildmates, thought I had screwed up by logging into Landroval and still seeing my characters there a couple days. I think it was like Monday or Tuesday that I checked, and so I thought I'd interrupted the process and had to re-engage it. But it ends up that that initial request, like you were saying, the initial request obviously had been proper. It's just that the it hadn't been processed yet. And it sounds like the only like you were saying too. It only sounds like the consequence would have been if I had been actively on a character at the time that the transfer was actually occurring. That's when I could have had big problems. But other than that, I probably could have played the characters just fine until that transfer moment occurred.
Yeah,
Right.
the problem is you don't know when it's going to happen,
Right. Right.
which
Fair
is
enough.
the real big item. They say that the surest way to know that it hit is if you find yourself getting booted off in the middle of whatever you're doing, and then you try to log in a couple minutes within a couple of minutes, and it says this account is currently banned. The word "ban" is a pretty poor choice of words there. It means that
Yes.
you are. That means it was attempting to transfer while you were up there, but once you are
We
able
have
to actually,
contacted local authorities.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So what happens then is after that, when you do finally get back in after a couple of minutes, it probably the transfer would have failed because you were on the character at the time. So yes,
Right.
please, if you think it's anywhere near the time in which it's going to be doing, right now it's taking 4 days, but that time is decreasing, and I suspect that it is going to continue to decrease on it. But of course, who knows what happens? Maybe this weekend there's going to be another flood coming through. But I suspect that the ones who are really in a hurry to get across have probably already made their requests.
I would feel like the worst is over. Yeah, that it's all been
Yeah, we are hoping the worst is over. We see a light at the end of the tunnel, and we hope it doesn't say Hazadoom Express on the side of it. And that means it's time for us to head into our week in gaming. And Krister, what were you up to?
yeah. So this week was transfer week, and confirmed that my characters arrived on Peregrine on Friday, and then I did some people watching because, of course, it was kind of strange. One of the kidmates mentioned, "I've never seen so many people online at one time," and I was like, "Oh, this reminds me of the old days, going in debris and seeing it filled with activity, going to role play at the Prancing Pony, seeing all the bands out there, and so it was kind of beautiful. And then, of course, having that general awareness of kins in the on Landroval, it was interesting seeing all the new kin names that I haven't seen before from other servers, obviously, and so it's going to be interesting. I'm looking forward to the experience that aspect, from the social aspect, and also as I get back into the rating too. It's going to be interesting to see how it feels on the new server. Although I guess a lot of people are talking about, your latency issues might not necessarily go away because it might be a client side issue as opposed to a server side. But
Yeah, there are potential. You could have client side issues. You could have communications issues. You could have system issues on your system. And of course, there are server issues, which we're hoping to reduce the number of the at least server issues that are caused by the amount of by the size of the data pipeline. Those are the ones that are being solved here. And
yeah, so it'll be
pre-
interesting to see how that translates, I guess.
yeah, we'll see how many. Okay, how much of the lag that we have been seeing is caused by which scenario is, I guess, what we begin to
Yeah, what would it be? It'd
see on
be
here.
like, all can we get 10 raid of lore masters together and have them all trigger their lightning storm or something? What is the most laggy? What I thought it was a lore master or a roomkeeper
It is the rune keepers
skill.
all bringing out their lightning stones at the same
Maybe that's what
time.
it
I
was.
think
Yeah,
it
there was
was,
some super lag event.
yeah, which Let us just say that one time a lot of room keepers did that in a public place, and I don't think the devs were amused.
Maybe that was the whole trigger for the 64-bit. See, so but yeah, that would be it'd be interesting to see if some of those classic lagging situations are corrected by the server environment improving.
Yeah.
Um, but besides the transfer thing, I did a bit of hell diving, and then this was the last week of my vacation, and now my vacation is officially over. So I'm dealing with that trauma.
Yeah.
But and what did you get up to this week?
All right. First off, I'm looking at a couple of things that being done by Sam is like he said that he has he has a lot to do because he's on all 11 of the 32-bit servers. Now, I
Oh,
have decided that there are some characters I have on the 32-bit servers that I'm not going to at least not for now going to transfer over. I'll just leave them over. Maybe later on I'll think about bringing them over, but for the moment, maybe I have a couple of servers where I still have characters on the old servers just in case they have. We are bringing the 64-bit servers down for them. We'll be up in about 3 hours. So, well, okay, well, go to one of the 32-bit servers then. Have a couple of characters around and not bother transfer, especially since how many copies of Hobbit Warden do I need on a server?
well, that was the question. I mean, if you're thinking about in terms of the Pine Leaf cinematic universe, you bring all these different Pine Leafs together onto one server, because you're like multi-dimensional storyline. What happened? Pine Leaf 17 just committed a crime. Oh no. Are we all guilty? And then all the Pine Leafs form a prison gang. I really think there's something here.
I just remember something that was done. I think it was for a very early episode of LOTRO Players News where someone had a Pine Leaf backstory or something weird like that they that they did, and at one point there was an army of pine leaves coming out.
They could have been. It could have been. Maybe it wasn't a story. Maybe it was a premonition.
Yes. And now let's get on to my week in gaming. First off, my Guardian reached level 32. This is a Guardian that I created right when they opened up the new servers. So this is my one character that was created on one of the new 64-bit servers as opposed from being transferred over from another server. Actually, I have two characters that I forgot about the character on Orcris that we were playing last week on during the Academy field trip. But the one on Peregrine, I created a Guardian there, and I've gotten up to level 32 so far. I have done the second Guardian quest, and I did not at all remember the second Guardian quest on how it went before. I don't know if this means that I had never done it before, but I had thought I had at least one Guardian that I'd got to that level, unless, of course, I did something crazy with it, jumped up with one of those
Uh huh.
Arias or what
Yep.
yeah, Valors. If
Valor. Yep.
right, if I Valored past the 31, because I couldn't remember because I didn't realize that, okay, two of the people that you're working with are related to the first Guardian quest, while the other one was actually someone that the captain that was helped by the captain quest. So that was a little interesting little tidbit that they had in there that either I had never seen before or I had completely forgotten about. Also, we had our first Friday night fight on Peregrine where we ran a Gleanclant, we ran the new spring instances, or actually, they're not new. I think they've been around all for the last several years. We ran the spring instances, and we also ran Thunglehod. So we finally had a Friday Night Fights where we were actually all together playing on Peregrine. I think there are some people who might not have made it across yet, but we're getting our kinship over. And perhaps maybe next week we'll have everybody around in there. But we did have enough for a full six for that, and a good number of them in the lower level group also. And my Mariner is continuing on with the Enid White story. And getting pretty close to the saddest part of the Enid White story and where that concludes. And that ends my week in gaming. If you would like to send us an email and provide us with some feedback, you can send it to podcast@loachplayers.com. The Players Alliance has two shows on Saturdays at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time. We record Loach Players News and we record DDO Players News when DRAC is available. You guys join for our shows at loachplayers.com/live. And that's all for tonight then. This is Pilot Needles reminding you to skirmish responsibly.